Think about that feeling of security, the quiet satisfaction of knowing you've worked hard, saved diligently.
Feel something solid.
Right. Now picture that rug just being yanked out from under you.
Hmm.
All those carefully built plans just dissolving in an instant.
It's devastating.
That's the gut-wrenching reality for, well, countless individuals in Kerala right now, caught in the fallout of this massive financial implosion. It centers around an investment firm called Masters FinServe.
Yeah.
It's a story that really makes your blood run cold, and today we're going to try and dissect it piece by piece for you.
Exactly. We're not just looking at, balance sheets and profit projections here. This is about lives. Lives just irrevocably altered.
Completely.
So our aim in this deep dive is really to get under the skin of this whole Masters FinServe situation, how it started,
Yeah.
who was involved, the deceptive tactics they
As
used,
importantly.
and ultimately what you can learn from this, to safeguard your own financial future.
And this couldn't be unfolding at a more critical time, really. Today, May 7th, 2025, marks the day the Central Bureau of Investigation, the CBI, has officially taken the reins.
Right.
Launching a full-scale probe into this colossal fraud that originated right there in Kochi.
And it all kicked off with these incredibly tempting promises, didn't it? Annual returns soaring as high as 18 to 20%.
I mean, that figure alone, it should immediately trigger a healthy dose of skepticism for anyone navigating the world of finance, right?
Absolutely. Precisely. Those sky-high returns were the initial lure. That was the bait that drew people into the scheme. Masters FinServe, established in Kochi back in 2014 by a certain Eben Varghese, initially cultivated this image of prosperity. They even made dividend payouts in the early stages.
Which is a classic tactic.
It is.
It really is. That initial success, those early payouts, they act like this powerful validation. People see their investments seemingly growing.
They tell their friends.
Exactly. They share their positive experiences, and suddenly you have this self-reinforcing cycle of trust and, increased investment. It creates this incredibly convincing mirage, doesn't it?
A mirage of a legitimate high-yield opportunity where, in reality, there's just nothing substantial underneath.
Just sand.
But as history so often demonstrates with these kinds of ventures, that facade, it inevitably began to crack. Around 2020, the promised payouts just stopped.
The music ended.
Abruptly. And investors found themselves facing this stark, terrifying reality. The promised riches were, nothing more than an illusion. The estimated total of this deception, a staggering 100 crore.
100 crore. It's hard to even picture.
To put that into perspective, we're talking about tens of millions of dollars just vanishing into thin air, impacting hundreds, maybe thousands of families.
And at the center of this storm, you mentioned him, Eben Varghese. He appears to be the principal architect of this entire operation.
Seems that way.
Alongside him, his wife, Shrianjini, and a company manager named Jacob Shijo are also under intense scrutiny. Key players in this unfolding financial catastrophe.
Right.
What's particularly interesting, I think, is that Eben Varghese reportedly had a background in share trading firms.
Yes, that's been reported. Which likely gave him this veneer of expertise, didn't it? He knew the right jargon.
The confidence.
Exactly, the confidence to persuade people that he possessed some special insight, all while peddling these, frankly, unrealistic promises of high returns with supposedly negligible risk.
Zero risk, high return. The classic alarm bell.
And the individuals who entrusted their savings to Masters FinServe, they weren't some detached financial elite, were they? They were the backbone of the community.
That's what's so tragic. Dedicated doctors, innovative engineers, ambitious entrepreneurs.
Yeah, everyday professionals who believed they were making responsible choices, sensible choices to secure their futures and the futures of their loved ones.
The sheer scale of the personal losses is just heartbreaking to consider. We're hearing stories of individuals who lost anywhere from, say, 50 lakh up to an unbelievable Euro 7 crore.
7 crore. Per person, in some cases.
Just think about what that represents. I mean, decades of hard work, savings earmarked for retirement,
The down payment for a house.
a long-awaited home, funds carefully put aside for their children's education, all gone. It's a level of financial devastation that's almost impossible to fully grasp unless you've experienced it.
Which leads us to the crucial question. How did they actually manage to orchestrate such widespread deception? How did it work?
Yeah, the mechanics.
Well, the method employed here is a well-worn one in the annals of financial fraud, the classic Ponzi scheme.
Right. Named after Charles Ponzi himself.
Exactly. The underlying principle is deceptively simple, using the capital from new investors to pay returns to earlier investors.
So it looks profitable.
Precisely. It creates the illusion of a profitable enterprise, which then entices more people to invest because they believe they're part of something successful, maybe even exclusive.
But it's just a house built on sand.
And eventually, it always collapses. Always.
And they weren't just sitting back waiting, were they? Masters FinServ actively sought out investors.
Oh, definitely. They conducted meetings across Kerala, put on these polished, professional presentations
Slick.
filled with seemingly compelling charts and projections. They specifically targeted individuals with significant assets, painting this picture of an exclusive opportunity. Extraordinary returns. Incredibly seductive.
That fear of missing out, the FOMO, it can be a powerful motivator, can't it? Even for people who might otherwise be more cautious.
Absolutely. And those carefully crafted reports and graphs were critical to maintaining the illusion. They consistently showed this upward trajectory of returns.
Yeah, always going up.
Always. Generating a false sense of security and reinforcing the conviction that this was a sound, prosperous investment. It effectively concealed the fundamental truth. No real wealth was being generated.
Just moving money around.
It was simply a redistribution of funds from the newer participants to the older ones. And mathematically, I mean, this model is just unsustainable in the long run. The number of new investors required just grows exponentially.
Until it can't.
Until it can't. But as is the inevitable fate of all Ponzi schemes, reality eventually intervenes. When the flow of new investment slows down, or maybe when a significant number of early investors decide they want to withdraw their funds.
The whole structure starts to crumble.
Exactly. And that's precisely what happened around 2020 when the promised returns suddenly dried up. The explanations offered by the company likely became increasingly vague, unconvincing,
Making excuses.
as investors grew more and more alarmed. Understandably so.
So the first real legal steps, when did those happen?
Well, the first formal actions were taken in January 2023. That's when Evan Varghese and Sriranjini were arrested by the local Srikakara police.
Okay.
Subsequently, the crime branch's Economic Offenses Wing, the EOW, they took on a substantial number of cases, I think it was 27, within the Ernakulam district alone.
27 cases just there.
But as the sheer magnitude and potential reach of the fraud became evident, it became clear that local law enforcement might lack the necessary resources, perhaps the jurisdiction, to conduct a thorough investigation into something this complex, this potentially far-reaching.
Right. It might cross state lines, maybe even international borders.
That's the concern. And that's the key reason behind the Kerala High Court's decision to transfer the case to the CBI.
Okay.
The immense scale of the financial losses, the intricate network of transactions, and yes, the distinct possibility of connections extending beyond Kerala's borders.
Okay.
It all pointed towards needing a federal agency.
One with broader powers, specialized expertise in these big economic crimes.
And the ability to coordinate investigations across different states.
Makes sense.
And the CBI isn't the only agency now involved. The Enforcement Directorate, the ED, is also actively pursuing the money trail.
Ah, the ED. So they're looking at potential money laundering.
Exactly. Investigating potential instances of money laundering. This raises serious questions about the ultimate destination of all that money. I mean, where did your crore go?
Could it have been transferred to offshore accounts?
Possibly. Or invested in real estate under concealed ownership. Maybe even channeled into other high-risk ventures to try and obscure its origins.
It's a tangled web.
It is. The ED's investigation will be absolutely crucial in trying to track down these missing funds.
It's so easy, isn't it, to get lost in the sheer numbers, the crores, the technical details of Ponzi schemes. But it's vital we don't lose sight of the human cost here.
The profound human cost. As we've discussed, these are individuals whose lives have just been fundamentally impacted, turned upside down.
Consider that reported loss of 1.6 crore by a doctor, or the staggering euro 0.7 crore lost by a businessman. These aren't just figures on a spreadsheet.
No, they represent years of dedicated work, careful saving, shattered dreams of financial security.
And beyond the tangible financial losses, there's the immeasurable emotional toll.
Oh, absolutely. The violation of trust cuts deep. These investors often place their faith in individuals they knew, perhaps even within their own close-knit communities.
People they trusted.
Yeah, and the sudden destruction or hopes for a stable future. It leads to immense psychological distress, protracted legal battles that can drag on for years.
Sleepless nights.
Countless sleepless nights plagued by anxiety and uncertainty. The sense of betrayal can be particularly devastating.
And the repercussions extend far beyond the individual investors themselves, don't they? Families experience immense strain.
Businesses can collapse if their owners have lost significant capital.
Right.
And entire communities can feel the shockwaves when a large-scale financial fraud like this comes to light. It erodes public confidence in financial institutions, leaves this lasting sense of vulnerability, of suspicion.
Sadly, as you know, this isn't an isolated event. We've seen it before. Kerala has been the epicenter of other significant financial scandals in recent years.
Yes, the popular finance scam, the Kuruvanur cooperative bank fraud.
This recurring pattern forces us to ask, why? Why do these schemes continue to ensnare so many people? What are the underlying factors that make individuals so susceptible?
It's complex, isn't it? There's no single answer. There's undoubtedly the human desire for rapid wealth accumulation, that yearning for exceptional return,
Getting rich quick?
which can sometimes override rational judgment. And skilled fraudsters are adept at exploiting this. They dangle the prospect of unbelievably high returns.
Returns that seem too good to be true.
Because they are too good to be true. They tap into that part of us that dreams of financial freedom, without fully appreciating the associated risks.
Which brings us to financial literacy.
Exactly. While we must hold the perpetrators fully accountable, it's also important to examine the level of financial literacy and awareness within the broader investing public. Is it enough?
Probably not.
There seems to be a clear need for enhanced education on fundamental investment principles. How to recognize the telltale signs of fraudulent schemes, like those unrealistically high guaranteed returns.
Empowering individuals with the knowledge to ask critical questions, understand risk, that's crucial.
It is.
So what's next in the investigation? The CBI is in charge now.
Right. As we noted, the CBI has officially re-registered the initial cases. Their specialized crime unit in Kochi will be meticulously scrutinizing bank records, tracing the movement of funds,
Following the money.
Right, and likely conducting extensive interviews with everyone involved. Plus, you have the parallel investigation by the ED into potential money laundering, which could uncover hidden layers, illicit activity, the ultimate destinations of the stolen money.
But recovering the lost funds, that's going to be tough, isn't it?
Incredibly challenging. Individuals orchestrating these types of scams are often highly skilled at concealing their ill-gotten gains. They know how to hide it. And the legal processes involved in identifying, freezing, seizing assets, they can be incredibly lengthy, incredibly complex. While the authorities will undoubtedly pursue all available avenues, there's a significant risk, a real risk, that a considerable portion of that euro 100 crore may never be recovered by the victims.
Which is just tragic. So this brings us to the most critical aspect for you listening right now. How can you shield yourself from becoming the next victim of a similar scam?
Okay, rule number 1. The first and most crucial rule, one we've really emphasized.
If it sounds too good to be true.
It almost certainly is. If an investment opportunity promises returns that sound wildly high, like those eye-watering 18–20% annual returns we saw here, with supposedly zero risk, then they are almost certainly fraudulent.
Legitimate investments always carry some degree of risk. Returns that significantly outpace market averages should be a major red flag. Huge red flag.
Absolutely. And always, without exception, verify the credentials of any investment firm or individual soliciting your funds. Are they properly registered?
Check with the regulators.
Yes. Check with regulatory bodies like SEBI, the RBI. In the case of Masters FinServ, it's been reported they were not registered. That should have been an immediate warning. Don't hesitate to directly contact the regulatory authorities yourself to confirm their legitimacy.
Do your homework.
It's your money. You have every right to do your due diligence.
And be extremely wary of those high-pressure sales tactics, those incredibly persuasive presentations, slick brochures, insistent demands to invest immediately. Get in now before it's too late.
Classic manipulation techniques. Used by fraudsters all the time. Legitimate investment opportunities don't require you to make rushed decisions.
Take your time.
Take your time, conduct thorough research, maybe seek independent advice, and never ever feel pressured to invest before you're completely comfortable.
Diversification is another key thing, right? Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
That's fundamental. A fundamental principle of prudent investing. Don't concentrate all your savings in a single investment, no matter how appealing it might seem initially. Spreading your investments across different asset classes. It can significantly reduce your overall risk.
It's about building a resilient portfolio.
Exactly. Not chasing after some unrealistic windfall.
And perhaps the most valuable tool in your arsenal is just your own financial knowledge.
Take the time to understand the basics. How different investment vehicles work. Familiarize yourself with the concept of risk versus return. Stay informed about the regulations designed to protect investors like you.
There are resources out there.
Numerous accessible resources available to help you become a more informed, more discerning investor. Knowledge is power here.
This whole unfortunate situation also underscores the continuing need, doesn't it, for robust financial regulation, maybe more stringent oversight of investment firms?
Yes, and expanded investor education initiatives across India, particularly in regions that have seen a recurring pattern of these fraudulent schemes.
Let's hope this case acts as a catalyst.
It is our hope that the sheer scale of the losses in the Masters FinServ case will act as a catalyst for meaningful reforms, and certainly for greater public awareness.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the Masters Finzer scandal, let's quickly summarize the key lessons. We've seen the devastating impact of this multi-crore fraud on ordinary people in Kerala.
The familiar Ponzi scheme tactics employed by the perpetrators,
The ongoing investigation now by the CBI and ED.
and the paramount importance of vigilance, due diligence, and financial literacy in safeguarding your own financial well-being.
And perhaps the most profound question this entire saga raises is about trust, isn't it? Who do we entrust with our hard-earned savings, and how can we ensure that trust isn't so brutally betrayed?
It really highlights the absolute necessity for continuous vigilance, a healthy skepticism when you're evaluating any investment opportunity. While the specifics of the Masters FinServ case are localized to Kerala,
The lessons are universal.
The fundamental risks and the lessons we've discussed are universally relevant. It serves as a stark reminder, really, for each of us to be more informed, more questioning, and ultimately more responsible in our financial decisions.